Hello, my dear students. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Don't know exactly what is the time in your country right now. That is why. Hello, my dear students. And once again, we are talking about manufacturing of assembly jigs. Before we get starting with explanation how to assemble assembly jig from separate pieces, let me to remind you what jig typically consists of. What do you see now in this picture? It's assembly jig, a real assembly jig that we have in our laboratory class for assembling the flap. Do pay attention that, no, let me to remind me that someone who have repaired the jig, have restoration work as to the jig, made mistake in coloring of it, because red color in real life, it's used only for mock-ups. It's used only for special tooling. No, you might see something at the floor, like mounting standard, mounting plate. It's supposed to be of another color. Don't pay attention. Very beautiful, but wrong. What do we see? And in addition, it's difficult to notice the contour in such a color. What do we see? That we have here contour of flap vertically, as you might see, with the nose edge, with the leading edge to the bottom and the rear edge to the top of the jig. And each couple of contour locators repeating the contour of flap. No, not much visible. By the word, do pay attention that distance between these locators, it's around of width of my fist, and I hope you understand that woman fist it's not much, and it's the question about convenience of work in a jig, in order you understand that elements are placed rather tightly. Pay attention that each of contour locators fixed somehow to the jig frame, to the jig skeleton. What this is somehow? No, in our country, in our countries of former Soviet Union, it was typical to use so-called barrels. What now you see empty places, empty barrels. To use such barrels, they have with holes because we are going to fill it with cement. And next into such barrels, we're inserting fork type connector, or it's maybe called I-type connector, up to you. And such connector has the attachable actually joint with contour locator, but only one side. In this jig we have bottom elements which are openable, and at the top they are movable like hinge, but they are not openable normally. So what jig consists of? Once again, what jig consists of? We have skeleton of jig. Usually we call it frame-like jig because the whole skeleton was originally assembled as the one structure, or it may be column beam type structure, like in our mock-up that you must have seen in class near the door. That one consists of separate columns and beams, top beam and bottom beam. And to such a skeleton, we are just hanging, in our case, locators of contour. In order to hang these locators of contour and to have finally correct contour of all the flap in each couple of locators, quite clear that we must align somehow contours of these locators. In our previous laboratory class, this problem was solved by using the special tooling. This special tooling, but really special, it means it's unique, it's appropriate, it's usable only for one type of aircraft. The red one, you see, it was mock-up of the wing, mock-up, which we call mounting standard. For manufacturing the mountain standard itself, we made first this yellow element of tooling, mock-up of the whole surface standard. Next, we copied it via the counter standard, something very similar to the jig. And in this counter standard, we have created the mounting standard, which we next using for manufacturing the jigs itself, themselves, let it be. And it was one way how to produce the jig, how to mount the jig immediately in a shop. You may use special carrier of sizes, either it's mock-up, like in this case, or it's a template, like it was in our very first lab. And we are attaching everything to this special carrier of sizes. Or another way that we are going to study today is to use some elements of these locators instead of contour. Instead of contour of locator, now we're going to align another elements of locators. And these another elements are exactly these holes which used for joining locator to the jig, seems like only. We are going to align these holes onto one line, and due to this, all contours in jig also will be aligned. It's approach which is called instrumental approach for mounting, to jig mounting, and it means that we are using measuring instead of copying sizes. Here, copying approach, measuring approach.